everyone, welcome back to Conquering Algebra 2. This is lesson 33. This lesson is going to be split into two separate videos. The first part is this one where we are talking about the major rules of algebra, and then in the second video we'll talk more about dealing more with complex fractions, but we want to make sure that this one is understood first. So there are three basic rules that we are going to cover when dealing with equations, and the big thing that we have to remember is dealing with an equal sign. So let's say we had the equation x plus 2 equals 5. We can remember with our first rule, I can add or subtract to an algebraic expression as long as I do it to the other side of the equal sign as well. So the first one deals with adding and subtracting. So if I'm trying to get x by itself, I can by subtracting 2, but I have to do it to both sides of my equal sign to keep this balanced. Keep in mind, this is only valid if there is an equal sign. If there's not an equal sign, this is just an algebraic expression and I can't do anything else with it. But because there is an equal sign, I can subtract 2 from both sides and I'm left with x equals 3. But that is only because there is an equal sign. And whatever I do add or subtract to one side, I have to do to the other because I have to keep it balanced. So that is our first rule. Okay, our second rule is dealing with multiplying and dividing. And what this rule is saying, again, if I have an equal sign, let's say we have 5x equals 35. As long as I have an equal sign, whatever I multiply or divide to one side, I can do that as long as I do it to the other side of my equation as well. And if we're divided by the equal sign, and I have to, whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. I have to keep it balanced. So in this case, I want to get rid of 5. Right now 5 is being multiplied to x, so I'm going to divide by 5. And that cancels out the 5, so we're left with x equals 7. But I can only do this because I did it to both sides. And I was only able to do it to both sides because I have an equal sign. If I didn't have an equal sign, I would be stuck with 5x, it would be an algebraic expression, and we would be done. But because there is an equal sign, I can solve for x. But the second major rule that we have for algebra is if I'm going to multiply or divide one side of my equation, I have to do it to the other to keep it balanced. So that's rule number 2. Our third and final rule that we're going to talk about with the major rules of algebra is dealing with variations of 1. And what that means is if I have a numerator over a denominator and they are the same thing, something divided by itself equals 1. We know that. And as long as it is a variation of 1, something over itself, I can multiply it to an algebraic expression. Unlike rules 1 and 2, I do not have to have an equal sign to use rule number 3. That applies for any algebraic expression, whether I have an equal sign or not. So an example that this would be used in would be something like this, where they're wanting us to add 4 over x plus y and py over x. In order to add two fractions, I have to have a common denominator. So I'm going to have to multiply both of these fractions by variations of 1 so that I can get them to have a common denominator. So we, seeing the two denominators that we're working with, our common denominator is going to be x times x plus y. And looking at our first fraction, our denominator already has the x plus y, but it's missing the x. So I can multiply it by x over x. And we've already learned all of this. We're just making sure that we understand this before we move further into this book. So x over x, that is a variation of 1, something over itself. So this is totally legal. I can do that. I am still keeping this a true balanced statement. So 4 times x is going to be 4x. And then this second fraction, I already had the x, but I need the x plus y also. So now I need to multiply this by x plus y, sorry it's slanted, over x plus y, because it's something over itself, and something over itself equals 1. So we have plus, because that sign does not go away, py times x plus y. And now we have it all over one denominator, so we are done. This is it. This is solved, but it's because we used rule number 3 of multiplying by a variation of 1. Okay, so that's it for lesson 33, the first part, talking about the major rules of algebra. We're gonna do another video talking about the complex fractions and working with those, but I wanted to make sure that this was its own video for you guys to reference. This is a good video to reference throughout the year, just to make sure that you're remembering and keeping all of those concepts fresh in your head. Just remembering rule 1 and rule 2, adding and subtracting and multiplying and dividing only works when you have an equal sign and it's an equation. But rule number 3 of multiplying by a variation of 1 works whether you have the equal sign or not.